Hey Fish Tube, how's it going? Today we're going to talk about discus facts and opinions. Now these are my opinions of 30 years of keeping the fish, breeding the fish, and I'm watching some stuff on YouTube that I just don't agree with, and these are just my opinions, so let's get that up front right away. The first one I see is mixing discus from other breeders. In this tank that you're watching right now, these are discus from 3 other breeders, plus fish I have bred myself. So as you can see, they're all pretty healthy. I don't think that this is an issue. Now, I would not buy fish and just put them all in the same tank right away. I would acclimate them to my conditions, to my water, before I introduce them together. And I would make sure as I introduced them, I kept a close eye on them. Because yes, it is true that you can bring in pathogens from other breeders, but I just don't understand why people are saying this, or at least not explaining themselves a little better. The next one I see is small tanks. It's better to keep discus in small tanks, because in a bigger tank they're going to burn energy faster. But to me that doesn't make sense either, because you want your fish to burn energy and eat more food. So to me that just kind of contradicts everything about growing fish. There's nothing wrong with fish swimming. They're not going to burn that much energy. And you got to remember, in the wild, they have miles and miles eating beef heart. Now, beef heart's not something I feed my fish. I used to feed my fish beef heart, but what I found is it kind of shortened their lives a little bit. I would expect to get 10 years out of a discus, and it's too fatty. These are cold-blooded animals, so they do not need meat, and in the wild they're not going to find a cow heart at the bottom of the Amazon. So this is something I just have a hard time with. Now there are breeders that use it to grow fish quickly and to sell fish, and I understand that they want to get those fish grown quick to move them out. Cold-blooded animals do not need that much fat in their diet. So just my opinion again. Another thing is, I do not feed my discus bloodworms. The day I stopped feeding bloodworms to my discus, a lot of my problems went away. Now, I don't think it's any disease in the bloodworms or any issues with the bloodworms themselves. I think it's something that it's a compressed fish and they have long intestinal tracts, and I think something about the carcass or the outside of the bloodworm might get stuck inside their tracts, and that might cause them stress. I can't prove this, but I just know for a fact that as soon as I stopped feeding bloodworms to my discus, a lot of the issues I had went away. Every new discus that comes into my fish room is quarantined and then treated, just because I can't afford to bring in a discus and it gets my room sick, or even worse, destroys my room. The next one I see is hard water. Discus can't be kept in the hard water. These fish you're looking at now are in an 8.2 pH and about 250 parts per million. I like to grow my fish in hard water, and I don't check pH anymore. What happens is the pHs are changing all day long anyways, so to me, it's just something that I don't check anymore. Now breeding, I do want my water slightly acidic or neutral. So when the male fertilizes the eggs aren't calciumed over. So that's more important to me. I have bred discus in above 7. It just tends to work a little better at 7 or below. So I want to talk about feeding discus. When you're thinking of feeding your discus, think about how small their stomach is. They do not have a big stomach. It's smaller than the tip of my pinky here, okay? So when you're feeding, think about that, because what happens, the biggest problem I see with people feeding their discus is bloating. Now usually the discus can make it through a bloat once or twice, but once it starts happening too much, it causes so much stress on the fish. And what you'll see when the bloat happens is the fish will usually turn its head down and kind of face, and you'll see it struggling to use its fin. It uses its back fins a lot to try to stay buoyant. and it'll either go up or it'll go down. So it can't use its swim bladder anymore because of the bloating compresses the swim bladder. So when you're feeding your fish, feed little feedings and think about the size of the stomach on a discus. It helped me a ton as far as learning how to feed discus and how much to feed discus. Biggest thing I could say with discus is keep them hot. I like 85. 84 works, but 85 seems to be that sweet spot for me. So that's something that I just stick with, 85. Now I'll go up to 86, and juveniles growing out will go to 88, 87. So 85 to 88 is that perfect range, depending on size. So smaller is hotter and larger is cooler. I breed my discus about 85, 84, and I have taken them down to 82, but I just find that the discus is kind of, the eggs do good, but the adults don't do as well. Thank you for watching, and I really appreciate all the subscribers. The channel's growing pretty quickly, and that's very exciting. So I will be making videos on beginner discus care, and also I'm going to be doing a breeding project. So I will record that as much as possible, but that is an ongoing project that will take me some time to put together. So thank you everyone for watching, and have a great day.